Hello there, my name is Stanley Okotie, and I want to welcome you to our lecture today. I'll be taking you for the next 30 to 45 minutes on web development, and we're going to have a series of classes just to be sure that you fully understand the topic web development. So right now I would like you to get a couple of things ready. Get your computer, your laptop, desktop, whichever is convenient for you and readily available to you. Get a writing material with which you use to jot down some points and questions that you would want to ask after the class. So I'll just give you a quick 30 seconds break to get everything that you need ready, and then we will kick off immediately. All right, so welcome back from that short break. And like I said, this class is a web development class. So from time to time, I'm going to show you parts of my screen so you can have a better understanding of the things that we're going to be talking about. I'm sure you have your laptop, your desktop, and your writing materials ready. Right, so let's dive into it. I'll quickly give you a course outline for this web development. So we are going to be looking at the web development, the roadmap. What is a roadmap? We will also look at what is HTTP, what is HTML, what is CSS, what is responsive. Also look at JavaScript, ES5, what is HTML DOM, what is Google Maps. We look at Google Fonts, Google Charts, XML, Ajax, JSON, CSS icons, Bootstrap, W3.css. We look at CLI, what is NPM, the GitHub, jQuery, Angular, React, Vue, W3.js, Full Stack JS, and SQL. Don't be bothered about all these acronyms. So we'll look at each of them and talk about them one after the other. All right, so that's the course outline. So quickly we'll look at web development roadmaps. So first thing we look at here is step one is the front end roadmap. What is the front end roadmap? Remember, this class is web development, right? So step one, as a web developer, you would have to learn the basics. And the basics, every web developer must have a basic understanding of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right, you must have the basic knowledge of these three: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right, if you look at my screen now, you will see like a chart. You have the HTML, and under HTML you have HTML and HTTP and XHR. And we'll look at CSS, and then we'll look at CSS and then CSS responsive, and then we'll look at JavaScript, ECMAScript 5. All right, then these are the things we'll look at in our step one, and then step two is for us to now dig deeper. All right, and in digging deeper in step two, we would now go into the details of our step one. All right, so now before we move on to step two, as a web developer, you need to have familiarized yourself with the basics: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So when you now feel comfortable with HTML and CSS, then we can now actually go deeper. And in digging deeper, we will look at we'll expand our HTML tutorial, look at HTML DOM, Google Maps, Google Fonts, Google Charts. They'll also look at CSS icons. And then in JavaScript, we look at XML, JSON, and Ajax. And then we move on to step 3. We'll look at frameworks. In step 3, we'll look at frameworks. And in frameworks, we will be studying CSS, also JavaScript, and then XML. And CSS, we'll look at Bootstrap, W3, CSS, and then under JavaScript, we'll look at jQuery, Angular, Vue, W3, JS, and then look at XLT under XML, Xpath, Xquery. And like I said, don't be bothered by the acronyms. You get to understand each and every one of them as we move along. And then in our step 4, we will look at back end. Everything we've talked about so far is front end, and then we'll go into back end roadmaps. And back end, we're talking about database. So we're looking at full stack and full stack JS. And under full stack, we have SQL, PHP, ASP, and Python. And of course, you can just decide to pick one of these and major on it. And you can also decide to go into all of them. So as we continue, we will pick one of them as our case study. And then full stack JS, we have SQL, so Node.js, MySQL, Mongo.db. Alright, so that's our introductory class for today. Alright, we have come to the end of the class today, and I hope you had an exciting time. So I will take your questions. I'd like you to send your questions, if you have any, to the email address that will be showing on the screen right now, and I'll be sure to give you an answer. So we will continue the rest of the class next week. So tune in to this same station next week. Thank you.